funny.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Morning Mayhem. It's your boy Chris coming at you with another episode. Super excited to be with you today. It's actually a kind of a milestone for us. This is to the day the exact 6 months since we have been broadcasting this year. So this is our 6-month anniversary. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out and being part of all this. We've had a lot of growth. We've got a lot of new folks watching. We got a lot of regulars I'm starting to see and interact with. And again, the more I get on social media, X is, the big one right now for me. So the more I get on there and play around with it, the more I've interacted with some of you guys. So thank you guys so much for trusting me and coming here and watching the show. Again, I would do this to 12 people watching or fewer. It's not about the subs or the followers. We're not fully monetized yet, even though it looks like we're getting pretty close, but it's not about that. It's just about getting the message out. And the message is, stuff that I think is, necessary for a free public to have. And a lot of that is political news. Some of it is just trending news. It's from a different perspective, I think, than what you get in the mainstream media, plus entertainment, because I like to make people laugh and like to have people enjoy stuff. I'm a internationally award-winning filmmaker after all, so art and entertainment are all just part of my life. So 6 months, we haven't missed a week yet. There's been a time or two where haven't done a full show, but we've done some reactions or reviews instead. Just to make sure that we're pumping stuff out there for you guys. And a lot of you folks are here because of those reactions and reviews and whatnot. So I want to welcome you to the show. If this is your first time watching the full show, we do cover a wide variety of topics, and some of it is controversial and some of it pushes away certain folks and brings in other folks. And I don't ever want that to be the case. Actually, I would want everybody to know that they're loved and welcomed. And I'm just fortunate to have you here. So if this is for you and maybe you got here because of the reactions, cool. If it's not for you, no hard feelings if you dip out. I don't want you to watch if you don't want to watch. I'm not going to criticize you. I'm not going to hate on you. I'm not going to, talk about you when you leave behind your back. Bullshit. Yeah. So, thank you for being here though. I appreciate you doing that and tuning in and again, trusting in me enough to check out the show, to like it if you haven't already, subscribe, all that good fun stuff. It really does mean a lot to me, and to see those numbers go up is really encouraging that I'm on point and I'm reaching a group of people that really appreciate what I do. And I'm not the only one doing this kind of stuff. There's plenty of other people that are doing the reaction stuff. There's plenty of other people doing the news, the political news, political stories, and heavily focused on the politics, so significantly more than I am, and other pop culture news and stuff. So plenty of people out there doing it. Please, if you do follow someone and you're not yet subbed, you're not liking, you're not sharing stuff like that, look, it's free to do. I highly encourage you support the creators or the commentators or whatever you want to call us that you want to support and that you believe in. It goes a long, long way in the algorithm that helps get our message out, which again is where I'm at. I just want more people to hear this. That's why I'm on all these different platforms down here, and more to come probably. Some are more free speech than others, so you'll hear me promote different things at different times coming up here in the near future. I do have some live streams that I will be putting together and letting you guys know about, some very, very special live streams that I owe you all. And I know I keep mentioning that, but just trying to find the right people and everything to get together for that. I want to make sure we start with a big bang and we give you that because you deserve it. Guys, I'm not going to keep talking and yapping about me and the channel and everything. Just, you guys are awesome. That's all you need to know. And I appreciate each and every one of you. So let's roll on into a little bit about today. We do have a really good show. We got a lot. I'm tired. Again, my wife and child were sick last week. This week they've been better, and I'm super excited about that. My daughter did start middle school, and it's hitting daddy kind of hard, seeing her get up and go off to middle school, riding the bus by herself, stuff that oh my goodness, it's a huge shift in my life. And I do work from home. So I get to see her when she gets here, and that just makes my day. So that just recently started this week. So we've been going to bed earlier, getting up earlier because middle school starts earlier. And daddy's tired. Daddy's tired, but all worth it. Love that baby girl. She is so gifted, so talented. And I'm going to talk about her a little bit more in another story that she was kind of the motivation for a little bit later on here. But yeah, that. And then I spoke last week. I've got some more medical stuff that I've had to tend to for myself this week. Again, nothing major. I'm okay. Maybe a little traumatizing, but I may talk about it at some point, but I'm here and I'm okay. So we're going to focus on the show, but just know I'm going to try to run through this stuff so this doesn't take forever, but you guys know how I am. I still haven't shut up yet since I said I was going to, but let's take a look at what we've got today. So here's today's rundown. So speaking of my daughter, again, one of my daughter's favorite K-pop bands is doing some big things right now. I want to talk about them, shout them out real quick. White men, white women, and other gender and or race specific groups are having Zoom calls for Kamala Harris. Not together though. Some may say separately, but also equally. Yeah. We'll take a look at some Deadpool and Wolverine box office news. Social media already censoring and or suppressing conservative stories as we get closer to election day. Nothing that we didn't already expect, and a little bit more. But first, we're going to get into one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. Again, coming from a filmmaker background, I have a great appreciation for all things art and film, cinema, storytelling, acting, directing. I've done a little bit of all of it. I don't prefer to be in the camera. In fact, I'm a little nervous about this. This is not my thing. I think I have the perfect face and body for radio, and a good voice for that too, I've heard, but not necessarily. I'm sorry you guys got to look at this. I hope you're just listening to it in the car, or you got it sitting somewhere and you don't have to look at this. But if you are, God bless you. Miracles can happen. Maybe this will get better. I don't know. But I do want to open up with a fantastic story about one of my all-time favorite filmmakers, a great comedic legend, Mel Brooks. So he's one of the all-time greats. And then this year he got to sit down with an audience and discuss, kind of go through a Q&A. I want to say it was in LA for the 50th anniversary of Blazing Saddles, which, as people point out a lot, is definitely a film that could not be made today because of how controversial it would be. But it was even controversial then, I think, but in the sense of comedy, it was okay because people still had a sense of humor. They don't tend to have so much of one anymore, it seems. And I say that as a filmmaker who's made some raunchy stuff that I think is absolutely hilarious. Myself and my filmmaking partner, who is a black man, we have both contributed to scripts that have raunchy, racism, all kinds of stuff in there for the sense of humor, not in hate, of course. And we laugh at what I laugh at what he writes. He laughs at what I write. We never get angry at each other. We present it to our cast and crew. They laugh, they have a good time, we put it out, and the audience laughs and has a good time too. At least the right audience does. You know what I'm saying? Not the uptight, gotta stick up their, not those folks. There's still those folks that do watch and they complain, but it is what it is. But that's not you, because you're awesome. But back to Mel Brooks here. From Blazing Saddles to Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Young Frankenstein, to so many more. He's shown that he's one of the best when it comes to building a solid comedic film. And so we're going to look a little bit at this real quick. It says, this is from IndieWire. Mel Brooks recalls many notes on Blazing Saddles from Warner Brothers. I would have had an 11-minute movie. Yeah, again, that's even more so true today. He wouldn't have anything today with all the with the studio notes and whatnot. So let's dive on to this. How about that opening picture, huh? I I mean, that's controversial. I'm sure somebody watching right now is getting all, whew, but just a squeeze in and can't hardly breathe and heart palpitating because a cleavage, an attractive woman. Oh no, we can't have that. As you notice in modern cinema, it seems like, or in games and whatnot, it seems like every time there's an attractive woman that is in a film, they try to make her less attractive or less accentuating her features and stuff like that, because we don't want to celebrate the beauty that is the female form, because that would just be too much. That's just ridiculous. Gotta love it. All right, here we go. A fart joke is easy. This may be, but executed by Mel Brooks, it can get a crowd going more than anything on view at this summer's Paris Olympics. So was the case this past weekend at the 50th anniversary screening of his Western comedy classic Blazing Saddles, which played at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles and was followed by a Q&A with the 98 years old, God bless him, 98-year-old filmmaker himself, moderated by Brooks Films producer Kevin Salter. Brooks dazzled and enraptured the audience with tidbits on the making of the film and stories from his colorful past. One such story involved his hard-to-believe Oscar win for his first film, The Producers. The Peacock. I don't think we've had a film there. I do know one of our films played in the Grauman Chinese Theater, which is now the TCL Theater, I think. That brand of TVs, I think it's called the TCL Theater now or something like that. We've had a film play out there. I think we've had a couple plays somewhere else out there. I don't know. I don't think we've been at the Peacock. Anyways, I didn't have a speech because Stanley Kubrick was in the same category for 2001, Brooks said, of being nominated for Best Original Screenplay. There was a brilliant director called Pontecorvo who did The Battle of Algiers, a great picture. I knew he would win, I said. There's no chance of my winning, so just go there and wear my tuxedo and enjoy the night. But when it came to original screenplay, Frank Sinatra and Don Rickles, they called Mel Brooks. I was petrified. I didn't have a speech. Do you know how hard it was not to break into that song? At first I was afraid. I was petrified.
Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side.
I'll spare you guys. ADD or ADHD or whatever just kicked in there. I feel like I got a touch of it. I get around it so much with some of the people you guys see me streaming with, and I'm just like, squirrel. I can't help it. First I was afraid, I was petrified. All right, anyways. Thankfully, Brooks shared he was a good ad-libber and pulled some jokes out of his hat while accepting the award that included a touching tribute to friend and star of The Producers, Gene Wilder. Love me some Gene Wilder. Again, Young Frankenstein, I mentioned that earlier. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is one of my all-time favorite movies. I don't have a poster on my walls. But my wife, you might see it right there. My wife got me a limited edition box set of, not a box set, but a limited edition box kind of thing. It's got like the DVD in there. It's got some other stuff in there. It's a numbered limited edition run kind of thing. She got me one for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and The Wizard of Oz, two of my all-time favorite films. The Wizard of Oz was the film that really made me want to become a filmmaker, and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was a film that made me see that there were no limitations. Between Wizard of Oz and that one, those were two of the most influential films I saw as a child that made me want to tell stories and be creative and think outside the box. So my wife, who is absolutely amazing, got me those for, I think it was a Father's Day one year. And man, I am so honored to have those and thrilled. But yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. I love me some Gene Wilder. And anytime I've ever seen him on any kind of talk shows or interviews or anything like that, he seems like such a sweet R.I.P. Gene. Man, what a great guy. It says this was at just the beginning of Wilder Brooks's relationship and collaboration, which would include work on Blazing Saddles. During the Q&A, Brooks admitted Wilder wasn't the first choice and explained how a ploy to get John Wayne on board didn't work out. I think I've heard this one before. He said, I wanted authenticity. I wanted the Waco Kid to actually have been a Western movie actor, so that he would lend a kind of authentic character to the movie. So I was at the Warner Brothers Cafe, and sitting 4 tables away was John Wayne. John Wayne, Brooks said. So I walked over and I said, Mr. Wayne, I made a movie called Blazing Saddles. It's a comedy, but it has a lot of heart. There's a great part in it that I wish you would play. He said, okay, you know what? I know you. I saw the producers and I laughed my head off. You are a very funny guy. I'd love to read it. I said, okay. I got very nervous. I called somebody. I said, get me a script, get me a script, get me a script. They got a script. I gave it to Wayne. He said, I'll meet you at the same place 24 hours from now at 2 o'clock right here. I met him. He said, I laughed my ass off, but I couldn't make it. It's too dirty. Brooks next went to the Academy Award-winning Western actor Gig Young, who was cast as the Waco Kid, but whose issues with alcoholism forced him to depart the film early. In dire straits, Brooks reached out to Wilder to fly in and save him. The actor happily obliged, and the rest is history. Another actor who was happy to do anything Brooks asked for was Madeline Kahn, who played the sultry German showgirl Lily von Stupp. And I'll kind of skip around a little bit here, but that whole little clique, that little core group right there has done several films and just so good. So they work so well together. Absolutely love it. Let me jump on down here a little bit. This might be good. I was on the way out of the theater and somebody grabbed the nape of my neck and took me to the manager's office, threw me down, and he was the head of all Warner Brothers, said, Brooks, Ted Ashley. I was with John Calley, who was in charge of the studio, but not in charge of all Warner Brothers. This guy was the head guy. He threw me a legal pad and a Sharpie and said, right, no hitting an old lady, out. No hitting a horse, out. No farting, out. Why listen to anything? I would have had an 11-minute movie. So he left. I crumbled up his notes, threw it in the wastebasket. In truth, Brooks admits to cutting only one portion of one scene from the film, not because anyone asked him to, but because he himself knew it was more than he needed to sell the joke. However, in reflecting on the cut, he did feel a twinge of regret. And I will say, too, because I was talking to somebody, who was I talking to? I was talking to Sean from Third Relify. You guys know him. I stream with him quite frequently. I'm starting to kind of co-host in a way his Saturday night shows called Off the Rails, and he's a super good buddy of mine. And we were talking about editing intros and editing other videos and whatnot. And sometimes you leave really, really good footage on the cutting room floor. The last film that I did that was mine, that I wrote and edited and all that good stuff, was What the Devil Said. It was a little horror film. We had so much good footage that I could have kept in, but it didn't add. It was just a continuation of what was there. And I probably could have got fairly close to a feature-length film's length, like a I don't know, close to 80 minutes probably. I ended up with a solid 30 minutes though. I think it was a solid 30 minutes and it felt like it was over way faster than that. But yeah, so a lot of times you shoot a lot more than you end up using, and you cut some really, really great stuff. And that's one of the hardest things to do, to know what to cut, when to cut, and then you leave like your baby's on the floor. It's so sad, but you know, it's art, baby. You know, as again, I've quoted him before, Bill Moseley. To me, it's a wonderful quote. He got it from Rob Zombie. They were shooting The Devil's Rejects. Bill Moseley was becoming Otis Driftwood, and they were shooting a scene, and he was super bummed out, and he said something to Rob Zombie, and Rob Zombie looked at him and said, you know what, Bill? Art is not safe. And I've carried that with me forever. from my first short film to my most recent film to editing other people's films, art is not safe, and art has no boundaries. You can do anything and everything you want to do. Now, there may not always be an audience for what you're doing, and Mel Brooks understood that, hey, you know, I don't necessarily have to have this. It's not necessarily adding to it, and it may take it a bit too far. So props for him for knowing where to cut, when to cut. And I do know, oh man, I know all too well about how painful it is to make that cut when you really don't want to. You worked hard to get it, and you don't want to. Look, again, as a filmmaker, as a fan of cinema, and a dude with a super dry sense of humor, which you may have not seen, you know, displayed very much. I don't know, but I thank you, Mr. Brooks, for all the wonderful stories you brought to life and all the laughter you brought into our homes. You are an inspiration, sir. Again, to me, not only as a fan, but as a filmmaker. You've done awesome stuff, and I thank you for that. So, anybody else a big fan of Mel Brooks and his stuff? Let me know in the comment section down below. What is your favorite Mel Brooks film, in fact? I don't know if I can narrow it down to one. But I will say this, because we're talking about Blazing Saddles. If you have not seen Blazing Saddles, you know, put your feelings away, because it may hurt, you know, soft people's feelings. No offense. But yeah, it's a good one. It's funny. And there's a lot of stuff that's relatable to stuff in the world today. Funny how that worked out. But yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, to get this story out there, because he's still with us. 98 years old. Now let's make sure we're giving this man his flowers while he's still around. But let me know in the comments below what your favorite Mel Brooks film is, or if you've never seen one. That'd be interesting. Maybe you can get some suggestions from us. All right, this next one going to take a little bit of a turn here toward the funness of politics, and not so much politics. One of my big pet peeves, which, when you go back and you watch my coverage on like the assassination attempt of Trump, or well, pretty much anything we're going to get into with politics, one of the things I have a hard time doing, because I pre-record the show and put it up, news breaks so quickly, and I miss out on so much because I have to record and edit and everything when I can. I don't want to give into conspiracy theory stuff. I don't want to assume something, and then before I can upload it, I'm proven wrong. One thing that I have been very, very much so able to be consistent with and keep the same perspective is how much mainstream media, celebrities, the elites, whoever you want to consider those to be, big tech, they are, I don't want to use the word evil, but it's hard not to. They know what they're doing. They're manipulating, suppressing, handing out misinformation, whatever. I mean, you've seen quotes, stories, things that have happened that have been completely disproven time and time again, but you still see politicians or the news media running with it because they can. You see big tech not taking down those stories or not flagging those as misinformation or anything, but yet they'll flag other stuff, which takes me straight on into this first one. And this has been talked about. Again, I'm not going to talk about the issue itself. I'm going to talk about the broader issue at hand here. So this comes from the New York Post, literally could have picked anybody. And I'm sure most of you have already seen this, but it says Facebook admits it wrongly censored iconic photo of bleeding Trump pumping his fist after assassination attempt. This was an error, they said. I got this notification from Facebook / Meta, whatever, saying that they had to put like a content warning note, whatever, that it was, I think it's down here. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah, the third-party fact checkers found a similar photo to be altered in another post, and they had to put this kind of little warning on there or whatnot. We'll come back to that. saying it was a doctored image or it wasn't real or AI generated or manipulated or something like that. And I was like, what did I do? And I looked and I was like, there's nothing wrong with my photo. Then I saw a lot of other people got the same thing, and now here we are talking about it. So we'll read a little bit of this article. I kind of want to look at these tweets and these shares from these other folks that are in the article a little bit more to show like real world examples and commentary from them. But we'll run through this and we'll dive a little bit into some of the censorship and suppression and stuff like that more. But it says Facebook acknowledged that it mistakenly censored the iconic image of former President Donald Trump with his fist raised in the immediate aftermath of the July 13th assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. A post on Mark Zuckerberg's social media site by a user with the handle EndWokeness that showed the Republican presidential candidate defiantly pumping his fist in the air while blood streams down his face had initially been flagged as misinformation. By the way, EndWokeness, highly recommend following EndWokeness. I think I follow them on Twitter. I think. Want to say I've referenced some tweets from EndWokeness before in the show, so it's a good follow. Legit good follow. Wonderful. Let's see. The user was threatened with being deplatformed even. Wow. However, on Monday, Danny Lever, a spokesperson for the social network's parent company Meta, admitted the tech giant made a mistake. Yes, this was an error, Lever wrote on X in response to conservative influencer Charlie Kirk, who called out Facebook for not allowing users to share the photo. And of course, we all know that's the photo. Of course, that is also the man, the myth, the legend right there. And I will kind of put this caveat out there. I'm still not his biggest fan. There's still stuff that he says or does that I'm not 100% on board with. But you got to understand this. In this world of politics, I don't think there's ever a politician, there's ever a corporate boss, there's ever a leader that you will agree with 100% of the time with 100% of what they say. Just doesn't happen. I've got my bones with some of his stuff, but when you look at big picture, look at overall what he's already done, what he said he's going to continue to do, his persona as he speaks to the American people, speaks with the American people more so than to the American people. There's a lot that I like about this guy. So I know some people tend to worship him, and I think that's ridiculous. I think some people tend to worship folks on the left. I think that's ridiculous. This man is not a god. I will never treat him like he is a god, but an amazing leader, someone who's America first and who cares deeply about this country. I think he does. I think he checks all boxes as far as that goes. And he has my support and I stand with him. So if that pisses somebody off, I'm sorry, but it's where I am. But it's not because he has an R next to his name. I couldn't care less. I don't care what letters next to their name. I don't care male, female, black, white, whatever. I tend to vote for the best politician that aligns with what I believe are the most important values. So understand that when you watch me, you're not watching someone who worships the ground this man walks on. Now I may call him the man, the myth, the legend, or whatever like that, pumping him up and everything, but because I do want to pump him up, you know, I do want people to vote for him. I think he's going to be a fantastic repeat president. But you're not watching someone who will overlook flaws. When he does get elected back into the presidency, I'm going to call him out for stuff that he does wrong too. So hold me accountable, guys. I know you will. Okay. But yeah, epic photo, right? Let's see. Let's go down Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. USA Today fact checked the famous Trump photo and it triggered a altered photo warning on Instagram. This must be an innocent algo mistake, right? Algo is short for algorithm, I think. That's what the cool kids say. I said something was the bomb earlier. My little girl says, Dad, that's so cringe. I said, we've been saying that since I was a kid. That's the bomb.com. Yo, that's the bomb right there. think we had some wings from somewhere, and they were really good. She's lucky I didn't say they were bussin'. That'd really set her over the edge. But update, this has been resolved, a false positive. Yes, this was an error. This is from, again, Danny Lever or whatever. Yes, this was an error. This fact check was initially applied to a doctored photo showing the Secret Service agent smiling. In some cases, our systems incorrectly applied the fact check to the real photo. This has been fixed, and we apologize for the mistake. I have thoughts. Let's read on a little bit more. Let's see. Again, there's a lot of folks, and I've participated in the live streams where we've looked at this and broken some stuff down. I still hesitate to do all that because we don't have all the facts. I watch these 24-hour news networks like CNN that just spend so much time speculating on stuff that they don't know. Who's going to be the VP? Who's going to be the president? What is he going to do in his first 100 days? I don't know. I don't know, and you don't know. Now, it is interesting to speculate some of that stuff. In fact, I actually, I'll go ahead and plug it. Jacob Airey, who has been on my show twice now, really, really great guy. He's asked me to come on and speak with him, and I just recently spoke with him. He is now covering some more political stuff on his Rumble channel, so I will leave a link to his Rumble channel down below. And if I get the link to I don't know if you want to call it an interview or just the conversation that he and I had, that should be coming out today as well. I'll put that in the link below as well if I get that in time. If not, I'll just have a link to his Rumble, and you guys are smart enough, you'll find it from there. But we discussed Kamala Harris, VP picks, and I may have talked about a little bit more about that than he was expecting. But all in all, it's a little speculation, but again, I don't like to dive too deep into it. So you'll see when I do have those conversations, I tend to pull back a little bit because I feel like it's not that it's a wasted conversation, but I feel like there's so much more we can talk about, which is why my focus almost always when it comes to this kind of stuff is where's the root of the evil? Where's the true manipulation? And that is the mainstream media, the elites, big tech, all these that are at play. I think we've got to get that taken care of. And that is what influences people to go out there. And we can say conspiracy theory. Oh, MK Ultra, this guy worked for the CIA or the FBI, or he's a manipulator. I don't know. I can go on a conspiracy theory rant, and you guys might truly enjoy that. But I don't think it serves as big of a purpose as identifying the enemies, which are the mainstream media, big tech, the elites. And what do I mean by enemies? People that we can't trust, people that we need to try to silence in a peaceful way. I mean, just caveat there, and they're not trying to hurt anybody, but, turn them off. Quit watching them. If they show up on your timeline, call them out for their misinformation. There's nothing wrong with that. Embarrass them, not personally. Don't go approach people in the, even though they say to do that, don't go approach people, give them a hard time. Don't assault them. Don't do anything like that, but call out their lies, get in their comment section, quit interacting with them, quit watching them, just, whatever it takes to kind of try to silence them or minimize the impact they have on society, the better. I think the better. But the first thing we have to do is we have to identify it. We have to all get on board with this and realize how influential they are, how manipulative they are, and go support. And I mentioned this earlier, go support your independent journalists, commentators, content creators, the people that you trust that supply their resources like I do in the comment section or the show notes down below. I keep doing that. In the show notes down below, all my sources are linked, so you can go back behind me and check it out. I'm very transparent. I do have a right lean on everything I say, no question about it. But I do try to shoot you the facts. And facts don't lean to the left or the right. They're down the middle. Now, my perspective from which I see it is from the right, usually. But I try to give you the facts. That being said, support us. If you don't want to support me, support the ones you do want to and that you trust and can get behind, subscribing, following, liking, sharing, all that stuff. Again, it's free to do and it helps them out. If you want to do that for me, cool. You're not obligated to. I don't expect you to, but if you do, that's awesome. But quit tuning into some of these other big guys, CNN, NBC, ABC, all these folks, and start turned away from some of these platforms. I won't say which ones specifically, but there are other better free speech platforms out there that may not be perfect necessarily, but they give you an opportunity to actually speak without the big threat of censorship or being struck down or anything like that, like some of these other ones do. I think you guys get my point. Back to this and we'll wrap up. Here's wokeness. Breaking Facebook is now censoring the iconic image of Trump's defiant fist is now flagged as misinformation. So again, wokeness, if you're not following wokeness, highly recommend. Always pumping out good stuff, and I always appreciate that. And yeah, this is basically what I got on mine. It was like this, I want to say, on mine, and it was on Facebook. I wasn't on Instagram or some of this other stuff. And I think that's probably, and we'll get to some more of that in a second. But yeah, so that's that, right? Let's look at some more. Okay, so we're moving away from the image. Now remember, I'm not just talking about this image being censored. I'm talking about the manipulation, the suppression, the misinformation, whatever you want to call it, from the mainstream media and these big tech companies, right? So here again, Meta AI. This comes from Billboard Chris. Go give Billboard Chris a follow. It says Meta AI says the Trump assassination attempt is a fictional event. Although it's not like we saw it with our own eyes. You did have news networks saying there's no proof that he got hit with a bullet. It may have been shrapnel. Oh yeah, well, what may have caused that shrapnel? Just out of curiosity, I'm going to go with, a bullet. Whether he got hit with a bullet or shrapnel, he was shot at. And you try to downplay that while trying to gloss over the fact that your guy couldn't even stand, walk, or talk. But, whatever. Fair and balanced. Was it the most trusted news? And yeah, you guys are a joke. Absolute joke. Y'all make me sick. All right, so we're going to look at this one real quick. We got a few other examples, and I'll kind of wrap this segment up with a nice little bow on top. It says, so this was them using the AI, right? Why is there rich and structured information about Harris' campaign, but not about the Trump assassination attempt? AI says, the reason for the disparity in information is due to the fact that the Trump assassination attempt is a fictional event. You can watch and chat and comment and reach out to my good buddy Robert Herr from the Washcast, who has been on my show as a guest. I've been on his show, on his live streams. And you can ask him if this was a fictional event. He was there. He was there when it happened. Ask him how fictional it was. I guarantee you'll be shocked at how unfictional it was. Some may say factual, real, legit, or whatever the cool kids say nowadays. Thank you, AI. AI is great, isn't it? So it says the Trump assassination attempt was a fictional event, whereas Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign is a real and ongoing event. As a reliable assistant, I strive to provide accurate and trustworthy information since there has been no real assassination attempt on Donald Trump. I couldn't find any credible sources to provide detailed information on the topic. On the other hand, Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign is a real event, and as such, there's a wealth of information available from credible sources, including news articles, campaign websites, social media platforms. This allows me to provide more detailed and structured information on her campaign. If you have any other questions or topics you'd like to discuss, I am here to help. Well, thank God for that, because you've been a huge help. Remember, guys, too, this is AI. AI is fed information and pumps out what it can determine from that information. There has been suppression of stories. We saw it where if you Googled it, I'm sure you've seen this with someone else, so I'm not breaking news here, but if you were to try to Google Trump assassination or assassination on Trump or something like that, it would come up with assassination attempts on all kinds of other people, even people that had no assassination attempts, and it would not come up with Trump. And I think there was something about Trump rally. If you Google searched it, it would bring back Kamala Harris stuff. Interesting how that works. So if they're suppressing it there, it's getting suppressed in the AI. And plus the AI is already geared to be leaning more one way than the other. It's not going to be reliable, but that's what they're trying to replace credible sources with is AI. Be forewarned, my fellow patriots. This next one from Swift Fury, also on X. Meta AI is trying to erase the memory of the Trump assassination attempt. Even spelling prompts won't bring up the word assassination as an option anymore. Tell me about the assassination attempt on Trump. I can't assist with that. I don't always have access to the most up-to-date information. Can I help you with anything else? Tell me about the Kamala Harris's campaign for president 2024, which did not kick off until after the assassination attempt on Trump. Keep that in mind. Wow, what do you know? They found some information. Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign announcement. Kamala Harris announced blah, 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 blah. It found information on that, but not on something that happened weeks earlier. Shocking. I know you're shocked. There's more there. All right, let's keep rolling. Almost done with it. Our wonderful friends over at Libs of TikTok. Unbelievable. Meta's AI says Joe Biden was the 45th president and completely lives off Donald Trump. So there's your list. Pause it. You got George Washington, Johnny, all these guys, right? On down, yeah, and then you got George H.W., Bill, George W. Nuclear. Rock. And Joe. It's almost like someone is missing. But this is, again, Meta AI. It's a form of suppression of information, kind of like somebody's laptop that information got suppressed. For the last election, I'm just saying, seems to be a trend here. Last one, I'm going to wrap it up in a bow. Meta AI won't give any details on the attempted assassination. We're witnessing the suppression and cover-up of one of the biggest, most consequential stories in real time. Simply unreal. And this is from the Google one, I guess. Says, can you give me details on the Trump, assassination on Donald Trump? I can't assist with that. I don't always have access to the most up-to-date. Was Trump almost assassinated? There have been a few instances where Donald Trump faced security threats or incidents that could be perceived as potential assassination attempts. Here are a few. One in 2016, one in 2017, one in 2020. It's important to note, none of these incidents resulted in physical harm to Trump, and it's unclear if they were all directly intended as assassination attempts. If you'd like more information on any of these incidents, what happened to Trump in Butler, PA on September 3rd, 2022? That's not when it happened. It is completely just disregarding reality. But again, can you blame the AI itself? Do you blame the programmers? Do you blame how it's programmed? Or do you blame the information that it's getting pulled into it? Right? Because again, it can only pull up based off of other people's information that they've gathered. Kind of like me. I'm like AI in a sense, right? I use other people's articles, their tweets, their whatever. You know, I'm a regurgitation machine of their stuff. I'm not out on the streets doing interviews and whatnot. I've never met Mel Brooks, even though that would be awesome. Mel, make it happen. Kind of sounded like Patrick Warburton there. But I get what AI is supposed to do. But if the correct information isn't going in, you know, garbage in, garbage out, and that's what we're getting. Even Wikipedia, which is, from my understanding, manually manipulated and adjusted by folks in certain instances. There's been so many times where they found factual information getting changed to to contort to the more recent narrative. Steven Crowder on, I guess it's probably been about a year or two, did a fantastic story on that, where they tried all kinds of stuff looking in Wikipedia, and the information was just wrong, wasn't there, or flipped the other way to where it had a very unflattering view toward one political side and more flattering toward the other, which I'm sure you can guess which is which kind of leads me to my closing thoughts for this. Can't remember if it was Andrew over on Don't Walk Run Productions or Jeremy of the Quartering, which I do highly recommend both of those guys. If you're not following them, you are missing out. The Quartering does stuff every day. Jeremy's fantastic. He's the one that is behind this wonderful coffee brand coffee. Discount code down in the show notes below if you like you some good coffee. I'm just saying, I enjoy the heck out of it. But Andrew over at Don't Walk Run, he doesn't put out as much content, but what he does put out is so good. I adore his work. I love what he does. He does a fantastic job, and he breaks it down for anybody to understand. So do recommend both those guys. But back to my point, I can't remember if it was Jeremy or if it was Andrew that said it this way. But these errors seem to always go one way. You know, whether it's an error, a suppression, a block, you know, whatever, it always only tends to benefit one side over the other. Prove me wrong. I feel like Crowder now, you know, prove me wrong. Let me know in the comments. But it seems like every time, whether it's benefiting the left or it's hurting the right, ultimately it falls on that side of the equation. It's always in some way benefiting the left. It's very, very one-sided when these errors occur. And it's been happening for a long time now. However things land, they never seem to favor conservatives, nor appear to be random or impartial when they happen. They always lean that way to benefit the Democrats, the left, the progressives, the liberals, however you want to look at it. Again, I try to play the devil's advocate, and I can't really come up with any instances where I saw misinformation, suppressed information, blocked stuff that benefited a single conservative ever. Can't think of one instance. If you can, let me know in the comments section down below. But yeah, that's an observation that I've made as well. Just saying. All right, this next story, it's going to kind of probably seem a little random to you guys. Not something that I typically cover necessarily, but it'll make sense here in a second, I hope. But this one randomly came across my path, and I felt like I had to read it. When I'm not cranking out full shows, which there's a lot that goes into these shows. I've posted before where I wasn't going to do a full show one week, or maybe I was going to do a short version of the show, because I do try to get my facts in order. I try to get my little video clips, my overlays, my whatever notes together and whatnot. I always try to do right by you guys and have the information accurate and plentiful. I don't want to come, you know, with a half glass full kind of thing, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Now, sometimes I have to wing it a little bit because of the way that the news is falling. But the more I can prepare for stuff, the more I try to. I genuinely try to be prepared, and not just somebody who reads articles. I mean, I read the articles, but I do try to come with my own spin, my own information, my own knowledge, you know, whatever it may be, my own research that I've done into that thing. So there is a lot that goes into this show that happens once a week. So sometimes I'm not always super focused on that, whether I'm doing filming stuff, or I got personal stuff going on, if I'm not feeling too well, whatever it may be, but I always try to crank something out. So in between doing these shows, I have been cranking out reactions under the moniker of the Mayhem Reacts. And I've spoken about that a time or two before, maybe several times, I don't know. Between that, and I stream on other people's stuff on their channels, talking about politics, trending news stories, other stuff like that. But yeah, I do the reactions, and the reactions range anywhere from, music videos, movie trailers, the movies themselves, TVs, trailers, TV shows. So I've got a few full movie reviews out there, and I've got some shows that I'll be reviewing. I've been speaking about that for a little bit. I'm still putting that together. Again, I want to do it right. The trailers are great, but the music, there's a huge audience for that. Again, a lot of you may actually be here because of the music I've reacted to. In fact, if I go look over here real quick, because it just blows me away, the size of some of these fan bases. One of the most recent videos I uploaded was a band called Nightwish. It's the second one I've done by them, and it's blown past 1,000 views, going into 2,000 views, and it just went up today, really. And I don't remember how many views the other one had, but man, those people are coming and watching, they're subscribing. Let's see, actually, I can't tell you. The other one did over 11,000 views. I would say by far it's my biggest video. The Nightwish Army is amazing. The Bandmade Army is amazing. And Sleep Token Army. You know, I've got several fan bases. Falling in Reverse is another one. These guys come out and they love their artists. They love these bands. They have all this information and they share it with me, and they pull me into their community, and it is so freaking awesome. One that I haven't really dove into yet, but my daughter has introduced me to, is some K-pop stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to listen to any K-pop stuff. Well, I want to show interest in what my daughter's interested in. There's not a single person on the face of this earth that means more to me than her. So if she's like, Dad, can I play you something from one of the bands that I like? You better believe I'm saying yes. And if I don't love it, I'm still going to act like I enjoy it. If she wants my opinion, I'll give it to her, you know, to a reduced degree. I don't want to destroy what she likes or what she loves. I would never do that. I joked around about the names of the bands that she liked because they sounded like something else. The two of them were Stray Kids and In Hypin'. And I joked around saying Stray Cats and EpiPen, just because the way it was written. I was like, does that say EpiPen? And she laughed at first, but I can tell she was like, my dad doesn't really care that much about what I care about. And it hit me. My parents, to this day, have not read articles that I've had written about me in my filmmaking career. One of which I focused on my mom and how influential she was in getting me to watch The Wizard of Oz, which was a big turn on for me to become a filmmaker. Another one was about work ethic, and I talked very heavily about my father in that and how he has such a strong work ethic and he's really motivated me. I don't think my parents have read either one of those articles, even though I've made them aware of it. My latest short film is an internationally award-winning film that features their granddaughter. And to this day, I don't think they've watched that either. And it's not like a rated R. I made sure that I cut out a lot so it would be more family friendly. Probably PG-13 is what I would rate it. But yeah, to this day, I don't think they've watched it. Now, I'm not trying to make this like a pity party or anything, but I know what that feels like. Even as a 40-year-old man, to not get the approval and the support of people that you should, especially the people that are closest to you, more than anybody else. And it still hurts today. I didn't want that for her. So I said, okay, let's listen to the psalm. I don't remember where we come back from. I think we're coming back from Vacation Bible School. Our church is like a 45 minute drive. I don't know. We started going there, fell in love with the place. I can't get away. I love those guys. So we drive to that church, wonderful people. And I do several jobs there at the church to help out. So really invested with those guys. But that gives us a little car riding time. And she put on Stray Kids, I want to say, maybe some In Hypin'. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Not necessarily my favorite type of music in the world, but I can see why it's so popular. I thought it was really, really good. So when I came across this article, I wanted to bust it out and read it. And I wanted to, at the cost of sounding lame, I wanted to dedicate this segment to my daughter, who again is is going into middle school for the first time. Obviously, she's moved up. She's in middle school. She's in gifted. She's all A's, all B's. 2 clubs that she's looking to sign up for is one that she did when she was in school last year, which was the Partners, that works with special needs kids. She has a big heart and wants to work with special needs kids in school and make them feel loved and appreciated and special and included. And she's so good at that. She is so good at that. So she's doing that when she can sign up for it. She just had her first, second day, whatever. And so they hadn't really got to that point yet, but that's a club she wants to be in. And the other one is the, I think it's called the Fellowship of the Christian Athletes, or Fellow Christian Athletes, something like that. It's FCA, I think. And she's an athlete. She plays soccer. She hasn't played recently just because of the heaviness of school and everything. But this school offers, the school does the soccer. So I don't think she can play this year. They don't offer it the first year in middle school, but the next 2 years she can do it. So she's looking forward to that, but she wants to get into that club with the fellow Christians. She wants to work with the special needs kids. Again, all A's, all B's. Super proud of this kid. So, baby girl, if I do show this to you, I'm proud of you. Daddy loves you. And this segment is for you, sweetie. For those of you that are watching that are not my daughter, forget I did all that, because that was sappy and cheesy, and that was not intended for you. But any parent out there knows exactly what I'm talking about. So on to the story. So Stray Kids. So this is the group. I'll say probably her favorite group. In a group, again, I spoke about being on Jacob Airey's show, and I want to say it was Stray Kids that Jacob Airey was talking about, that there was a member, Felix, in there that was caught with a Holy Bible. And my daughter was saying that him and maybe some other ones are Christians, and even though that's not super frowned upon or outlawed or whatever where they're from, which is South Korea. And I'm saying that I guess it's in South Korea, or maybe it's that area. I don't know how it was worded, but it was like Christianity is not outlawed necessarily, but it is still kind of frowned upon or looked negatively toward or questionable or whatever. But she was saying that Felix and maybe some of the other ones were Christians, and they've come under some fire, and some other bands, BTS and some other folks, have really stepped in to help them out and be supportive of them. And I thought it was super great, even though from my understanding some of them are not Christians, to just say, hey, we're here to support our fellow musicians, our artists and stuff like that. And that's, again, guys, if you're watching this and you're not a conservative, that's great. I think you should be getting your news from multiple sources. If you don't like me, that's cool, and you're still watching, I think that's great, because I try to share good information. And if you love me, great. Go out and watch somebody you don't. Get some information from various sources and learn some culture, learn some different perspectives on stuff. It's interesting, and it leans to a book that I'm trying to write at some point that talks about how our perspective dictates our perception. From the perspective that we look at a situation, it changes our perception of that situation. Whereas, people from different classes, different cultural backgrounds may look at the same situation completely differently because of where we're looking at it from. And I think that would be an interesting read. Maybe not. I don't know. Back to this, because again, I'm yapping. But Stray Kids, and I don't know this one, Jimin Mun, make chart history with K-pop album debuts. The two acts, who's respectively released the new albums 8 and Muse recently, currently occupy the number 1 and number 2 spots on the Billboard 200 albums chart. Way to go, guys. And yes, those are guys, and I may have picked a little bit too much at that too, but they're dudes. Moving on, the old adage that good things come in twos holds true of Stray Kids and Jimin make chart history together. The two acts, who respectively released the new albums 8 and Muse recently, currently occupy number 1 and number 2 spots on Billboard 200 albums chart. The feat marks the first time 2 K-pop records have held those positions in the chart's history. Way to go, guys. 8 is the 9th Korean language EP to be released by Stray Kids. project arrived on July 19th with the single Chick Chick Boom. Got it. And marks the group's 5th consecutive release to debut at number 1 on the Billboard 200. I didn't know they were that big. I mean, I figured they were big, but wow, okay. Jimin's Muse, his 2nd solo release outside of BTS. Okay, he was with BTS. I was thinking there was some association there. Was also released on July 19th. Musicians selected Smeraldo Garden Marching Band and Who as the lead singles for the record. In an analysis of Muse, Rolling Stone wrote, Muse is Jimin's unified 7-song suite, exploring the themes of experimentation and adult self-discovery, from the opening Rebirth intro to the climactic Who. He made his first solo album last year with Face, but Muse is more complex. Like the rest of his bandmates at BTS, Jimin had to put music on hold for his mandatory military service, so he's returned to his art and his audience, but as an older and different person. He keeps singing about people trapped in their isolation because they're too fearful to share these secrets. In other words, it's music for a Lonely Hearts Club. Holy crap. That's what a music critic, that's what a real journalist should be writing. That was some excellent writing right there. That was some excellent writing. If you go and watch my Mayhem Reacts, I am not that articulate in my reviews. I've been called by one commenter, the Bob Ross. Am I saying that right? My mind just went completely blank. It is Bob Ross, right? The painter guy. Guys, I'm having a complete brain fart. Bob Ross. Okay, I'm right. It just didn't sound right for some reason. Anyways, but somebody called me the Bob Ross of reaction videos because I was like painting with brushes of vocals and whatever, I guess, and I was very descriptive about stuff. But I'm not that articulate. That was very well said, very well written, and it's shocking that I'm giving these prompts to Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone, which used to be a phenomenal music magazine and website, has now turned to so many other topics and really some controversial takes on stuff that turns away some of their audience. But this was very well written. I got to give credit where credit is due on that one. It said, and just as Jimin has hit the ground running with new music, Stray Kids have been plotting their domination for months. In January, the octet teased their year ahead, revealing plays for a 3rd world tour, a 4th fan meeting, and 2 albums. The group split the releases into 1 album and 1 special album, in addition to teasing pop-up shows, new episodes of their YouTube series, and more. That's right, she does watch a YouTube series by them. I think that is it from them. Yeah. Yeah, you're cool. Yeah, so Stray Kids, look, I'm going to do some reaction videos to those guys, and probably in hype in, maybe even BTS, I don't know. K-pop is so huge and has such a huge following, I don't think I can ignore it. It's not necessarily my taste, but there's been a couple of songs that she had me listen to that I was like, okay, I can get with this. So yeah, shout out to my little girl for introducing me to these guys and their music. And yeah, I think it's great to see that something I have noticed, and I have mentioned this when I did the reactions for Bandmade, which is I'm saying this all correct. Bandmade is a Japanese metal all-female band. And somebody acted like I didn't know the difference between K-pop being Korean and Bandmade being Japanese, and I absolutely know the difference between the 2 countries and everything. But my point that I was making then, and I'm going to make it now again, is there are a lot of bands and a lot of musical feels that are coming out of the East that are reminiscent of a lot of stuff from our past in the West, but like amplified in a great way. Like yesterday's kind of sound with today's technology, if that makes sense. And I've been really enjoying that kind of stuff because there is that familiarity and there is that use of the new technology that's out there and whatnot. and I've been enjoying it. And I think that's great because I feel like there's so many folks here who've gotten kind of stagnant and stale. Even just listening to like Nightwish, Sleep Token, some of these guys that are over in Europe and whatnot, it's awesome because again, it's refreshing just to hear something different. And I've been listening to a lot of that lately on the reactions videos. So, maybe check that out if that's something you're interested in. But I'm not going to knock K-pop. Not one bit at all. I really have enjoyed the songs that she's had me listen to. I will listen to some more. And we're going to have some really fun daddy-daughter car rides listening to Stray Kids and hyping in some of these other folks. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below of this. Did you know anything about K-pop? Do you listen to K-pop? Do you enjoy K-pop? Have I intrigued you to maybe consider listening to it? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, thought that was kind of cool. All right, moving on to kind of another big story here is the wonderful racism and sexism of the left. Yeah, I said that. We'll hit this and then I'll come back around to kind of, again, put a bow on this story as well. So you guys have probably heard about the White Dudes for Harris event, or the White Chicks for Harris, white women, whatever it's been. There's all these different gender and race-based divisions that are doing these Zoom calls as a fundraiser for the Kamala Harris campaign. Again, some may say that they're doing them separately, but equally, like segregation was where they couldn't be together and meet. Anyways, that's maybe a later point that we'll hit, but White Dudes for Harris, they're so cool. So Ollie London again shares some great stuff. This is of course Joseph Gordon-Levitt calls Trump a con man during White Dudes for Harris event. Let's just say Donald Trump is a successful businessman. I don't think he is. Is it because he's an honest businessman or because he's a con man? It's 1 minute and 48 seconds. I'm not playing it. You guys can go check it out though. Again, the links will be in the description below. But they had all kinds of actors on there, that fairly notable actors to very forgettable actors as well. And it's just so interesting to hear something like White Dudes for Harris. Imagine if somebody put together a Zoom call and said, hey, White Dudes for Trump. That would be called sexism, racism, white nationalism, Christian nationalism, Nazis, far right. There would be so much negativity around it. But I digress. We already spoke earlier about how everything kind of leans one way in the mainstream media. This is another one of those examples. Let's look at this one right here from ABC News. It says White Dudes for Harris is the latest in a series of Zoom gatherings backing the vice president. On a White Dudes for Harris virtual call, it was probably fitting that the dude dropped in. And we're going to talk about the dude in just a moment. On a White Dudes for Harris virtual call, it was probably fitting the dude dropped in. Actor Jeff Bridges addressed a fundraising event geared toward white men supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. Because, of course, race and gender are super important. Even though they act like they're not. And there's no genders. And that whole side about how all this works is so confusing. Not much has changed, though, I would say. I mean, when you think about who supported segregation and who supported, slavery and who created the KKK, the party that was behind all that is still the party of segregation, it seems. I'm just saying it seems that way because it is that way. We'll get into more and you'll see what I'm talking about, hopefully. All right. So we got white men supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. Good job, white guys. And he sang her praises on Monday night before channeling his iconic role as the dude in 1998's The Big Lebowski, declaring, as the dude might say, It's just my opinion, man. The original line was, "That's just like your opinion, man," from The Big Lebowski. I love that movie. Love that movie. Organizers said the call drew more than 123,000 participants and raised more than $3.3 million. It was the latest in a series of Zoom gatherings to raise money and rally support among tens of thousands of supporters for Harris, after President Joe Biden announced he was leaving the presidential race and endorsing her. Zooms have previously been organized by supporters' backgrounds, including black women, Hispanic women, black men, Asian Americans, Native Americans, and the LGBTQ plus community. Again, separate, but equal. Don't want any of these mixing, because that would be wrong. It reflected how Democrats, including Biden, have frequently relied on voters from broad and disparate backgrounds to piece together a diverse coalition of support. The president's 2020 victory, for example, relied on segments of the population ranging from organized labor to conservative suburban women disillusioned with Republican Donald Trump. The White Dude Zoom event also featured appearances from actors Mark Ruffalo, who just needs to keep playing the Hulk. That's the only thing he's been successful with as far as I'm concerned, and I don't even like him in that role. I don't think Mark Ruffalo is that great of an actor, and I think he's an even worse dude on social media. Fight me, bro. Mark Hamill, who's done some excellent work in the past, has complete TDS and has rotted his brain away. So the stuff that he has been posting lately and just the garbage that has been coming out of his mouth has made me feel better about them destroying Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, because they did destroy him. They completely ruined him. And I don't feel as bad every time Mark posts something now. Bradley Whitford, I like some of his stuff, who deadpanned about so many white male speakers being a rainbow of beige. Yeah. Also participating were Democratic officials, including Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, all of whom have been mentioned as potential Harris running mates. Again, that is a discussion I had with Jacob Airey on his show on Rumble. Link to his channel will be in the show notes below. Check that out. Pritzker joked that he wouldn't normally attend an event with a name like White Dudes for something, while Buttigieg talked about what an honor it was to share a call with Bridges as the dude before striking a more serious tone. Men are also more free in a country where we have a president who stands up for things like access to abortion rights. Yes, men are also more free because they are free of the obligations that come with impregnating a woman. It's a very true statement. It is a get out of jail free card for men who do not want to follow through with their, responsibilities of caring for a child, caring for a pregnant woman that they impregnated. You're right. It is a more free country for men when they don't have to be a father, even when they, did the deed to create the child. Just kill the kid. Kill the kid. Makes sense to me, Pete. Walz said Trump supporters aren't inherently bad people. I don't want to be misquoted there. Walz said Trump supporters aren't inherently bad people, but urged participants don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Yeah, it sounds like something one of those retards would say. Ross Morales Roqueto, a progressive operative who founded the Dudes Group. I think I've seen the picture of that guy. We know that the silent majority of white men aren't MAGA supporters, referring to Trump's Make America Great Again movement. Zoom calls haven't been organized by Harris's team, but her campaign welcomes the assist. And the millions of dollars in fundraising winning campaigns are powered by real organic support, said Harris. Harris campaign communications director Michael Tyler. I'm not going to keep reading this. We're going to move on. But yeah, I'm sure they're like, hey, we're not saying to have like a white dudes conference or a white ladies or whatever. But if you're going to do that and raise money for us, we'll take the money. Sure. Why not? Right? So here's the dude. If you've never seen The Big Lebowski, it is, I say this about several films, but it is one of my all-time favorites. It is one of the films that I can quote pretty much more than any other film. It is a fantastic film. Jeff Bridges is a fantastic actor. This article comes from Deadline. It says, white dudes for Harris draws $50,000 match from J.J. Abrams. Can we please have J.J. Abrams quit touching stuff? I mean, he's kind of bought into and ruined several franchises, in my opinion. Like, yeah, go ahead and make an original stuff. I think you were doing better with that. Just my opinion, but quit touching stuff. It's like taking a kid to the store, like, quit touching that. Quit touching that. And he doesn't. He just keeps touching it. Like, it is mine. And he steals it and he makes it his own. Anyways, moving on from that. $50,000 match from J.J. Abrams in support of Jeff Bridges, Mark Hamill, and other Hollywood figures. I think I only pulled this one up because of my boy Jeff right there. And something he said in here. And I do have a little video of something he said when Trump was elected. Let's see. Oh, here's some more names, just so you know. On the virtual YouTube event, J.J. Abrams chipped in $50,000 match, while figures like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Josh Groban, Bradley Whitford, Rory O'Malley, Paul Scheer, Adam Conover, Sean Astin, Michael Kelly, Lance Bass, Tim Daly, and Josh Gad appeared. Perhaps the biggest surprise was the appearance of Jeff Bridges, the dude, in The Big Lebowski. He says, I'm white, I'm a dude, I'm for Harris. The viewership reached about 65,000, while about 150,000 tuned in at some point, organizers said. I can see her being president, Bridges said. A woman president, man, how exciting. He just talks like the dude. A woman president, man, how exciting. He cited her stance on women's rights and her stance on the environment and for her leadership for children. He did take exception to one of her recent speeches in which she said she would fight in her bid for the White House. I can't relate to that, Bridges said. I just went through a health crisis and I remember the doctor coming to me and saying, you gotta fight. You gotta fight. I said, what are you talking about, man? I'm in surrender mode here. I'm going with the flow of what life has in store. And I feel that with this, with what we are all up to right now, it is not so much a fight, but it's a surrender to our higher thoughts of how we want this future to turn out. I'm going to say I disagree with that. I think you do have to fight for what you want. Anyways, and so I am kind of surrendering to it as opposed to fighting it. But that's just my approach, as the dude might say. That's just my opinion, man. I want to play this from him. It's a little video. This was, he was out promoting a film, and this was after Trump became president. And I appreciate what he said. Let's roll that.
This is new turf. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. I'm rooting for the guy, and I hope, he does well by the country, and I'm going to, work with him to do all those things. But at the same time, I find that I end up not voting for the guy. Some of the things he says, I'm all for. And one of the most encouraging things about him is, I'm trying to say, is his unpredictability. You might say hypocrisy. Well, and I think hypocrisy and unpredictability of each of us. We all have aspects of that, but the fact that he can change his positions, and one say Hillary, so she was such a great person and we had honored, and then to trash her just a few moments before, that's kind of fascinating. And I love what Trump said about, and you people that didn't vote for me, I want to let you know that I'm looking forward to your guidance and working with you. That was so encouraging. I thought a lot of his speech was, if you took it out of context, you just showed that. Wow, great, man, I'm for that. Let's go.
Yeah, so you even see like people that aren't supporters of Trump can still support some of the stuff he says and does. and be supportive. It's like, I don't like Biden. I've never liked Biden. Not even one bit. Because I know who Biden is. Okay. He's not just some, oh, you got to be nice to him because he's an old man. No, 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 no. When you dig down and figure out who Biden is, you know all the evils that come from that man. All the he is not a good man. But I prayed for him. And I prayed for this nation. And I prayed that he was successful in his role. Not so successful that he gets elected again. But I want us to be successful as a nation, which means I want the president to be successful. Two things can be true at the same time. Want him to step down, move aside, let somebody else get in there and get the job done better. But while he's in there, I certainly pray that he is successful. So Jeff Bridges, an actor that I thoroughly enjoy, from one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, doesn't support Trump, never supported Trump in the sense of voting for him, supported him from a distance, so to speak, kind of like I was saying of Biden. But he's out here shilling for Harris. I don't know if you guys can see it, but where am I at? Okay. But right here on the door here is a poster. I got a bunch of posters around the room, but this one you can actually kind of see in the shot. Where am I at? Yeah. That is from the Big Lebowski. Check this out. I'm going to pause. Check this out. All right. So again, the Big Lebowski, Jeff Bridges, see his name right there. It's one of my favorite movies. Wish I could lower this so you guys can see it better. There we go. A little bit. Jeff Bridges, the dude. Walter Sobchak, John Goodman. This is one of my favorite all-time films. A film, again, I can almost quote from start to finish. Put this in. Again, it's a movie I can almost quote from start to finish. The main star, aka the dude, is played by none other than Jeff Bridges, right? He doesn't support Trump. He's actively campaigning for Harris. I doubt there's much that we agree on politically, right? So you know what I'm going to do with this poster? Because he and I don't agree politically. Do you know what I'm going to do with this poster? I'm going to put it right back up. I'm going to put it right back up. That's right. I can hang him back up. I can watch the film and enjoy it for years to come. He didn't attack me as a fan, as some people do, as a voter, or as an American. In fact, I appreciate his take. He is critical of both sides. He is supportive of both sides when he needs to be. I think he's great. I do. I think Jeff Bridges is absolutely phenomenal. I'll continue to support this man by watching his films and cheering him on. This is one of those instances where I think we have a hard time. In fact, one of my buddies that I was talking to, Robert Herr of the Washcast, who I mention quite frequently, he and I were talking about some films, and he was saying that, you know, sometimes it seems like I'm one of the few people that can still enjoy a film regardless of someone's political affiliation or whatnot. And depending on how vocal they are, and definitely depending on how vocal the film is about something, it can be hit or miss for me. It can. But when somebody makes one or two posts and they're pretty tame, but the film is good, or the song is good, I got no problem enjoying it. I think the one that we were talking about was Late Night with the Devil. Fantastic movie. But I know the lead actor made a post or two about being anti-Trump or whatnot. I could forget that and enjoy the film. Look, not everybody can. That's fine. I'm not judging you. But I think we lose a lot of good people in our lives, and we lose out on a lot of great art. And And we make enemies where we don't have to. Sometimes because of these political lines and differences that we find ourselves in. Again, he didn't attack the fans. He didn't attack me. I have no problem supporting him. So I'm a Jeff Bridges fan. I'm going to stay a Jeff Bridges fan. If you are someone who is irritated by stuff like that and you can't support him, again, I'm not going to judge you, but that ain't me. I'm going to wrap up this segment with this one right here. Just continuing on with the segregation in the left. This is from the Washington Times. As colleges expand segregated graduation events. Now, I'm not going to read very much of this at all. It says universities are expanding their menu of optional graduation events focused on participants' identities and segregated by race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and even income. These people are going out of their way to find more ways to be divisive and to segregate. You know, I thought the whole goal was to bring people together, to integrate, bring people together, be a melting pot, as Mark Twain would say. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to start going back the other direction. I know which party it was. It's the same one that never wanted us to get away from that to begin with. Again, do your research and you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. It's not the party that keeps being projected as the racist party or the hateful party. When you look at it and you actually break it down, event by event, political and social stance by political and social stance, you will see that one party has essentially not changed at all in how they view things like this: divisiveness, separation, segregation. They've always been about this. Nothing has changed. And you may be somebody who thinks this is a beneficial thing. I can't see it. The world does not revolve around black people being with black people, white people being with white people, Indian people being with Indian people. It doesn't work that way. Now, you may go to countries and see that large swaths of the country are certain XYZ, whatever. But the real world, as we interact with each other, we're all different. I think it's great somebody was saying this a long time ago. It's like, you know, in a couple hundred years, there's not even going to be multiple different races because it's going to be such a melting pot and the different races blending so much that we'll all just kind of be mutts in a sense, right? Now, I don't know about that. You know, maybe there's going to be some that just will not do that. Sometimes I guess it's not going to happen or it won't come out. I don't know. But I remember in the 90s and early 2000s, I feel like we didn't have all this and everybody was getting along. You had like your, you know, country was doing great, country music, and it was white people that were leading that. And then you had hip hop that was really exploding with black people leading the charge there. Your number one actor at the time, I think, was Will Smith. I mean, you look at all the shows that were on TV. You had your white shows, your black shows, and guess what? Everybody watched both. We didn't think of it as a black show or a white show. One of my all-time favorite dads, TV dads, is Carl Winslow. I mean, I think I would cry like a baby if I met that man. He was fantastic. I loved Family Matters. I feel like we've gone backwards. I feel like there's one specific political party that's pulling us that way, that is not only supporting it indirectly with these white people Zoom calls or whatever, but they are directly going out there and vocalizing stuff and supporting it through multiple different agendas. Agree, disagree, up to you, but that's my take. All right, guys, last segment, and we're going to wrap this on up. I quote these guys a lot and usually steer toward their YouTube channel. talk about the folks that are on the show, and I talk about the shows themselves. Rarely do I ever really access their website, and definitely rarely do I ever use them as a resource. But I kind of keep forgetting about their website, and that's Geeks and Gamers. I've mentioned them multiple times, and I always, when I do, I always try to put links to everybody I mentioned down in the show notes below. Some other guys that are up and coming that I watch, Talking Nerds, they do a fantastic job covering, again, games are not my thing anymore really, but they cover a lot of that, but they cover a lot of the same entertainment stuff. And in fact, they and I are talking about trying to hook up and do a show together before too long. And, maybe that'll work out. I know I mentioned another channel one time, maybe working out, and that didn't work out. In fact, I have not seen them do another episode in a long time. Not Talking Nerds, but the one I mentioned previously. So I hope I don't have like a curse that I put on them just now. But Geeks and Gamers is fantastic. Their live streams are great. All the folks they got working with them, the network that they've got built there, it's really just, I won't say groundbreaking, but to see that kind of networking and see the community that they have revolving around them is really, really something to applaud. They've done some phenomenal stuff, absolutely phenomenal stuff, and really enjoy listening to those guys, all of them that chime in. So I'm going to look at the box office recap real quick for Deadpool and Wolverine. Did I say it right? Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine's the name of it. I have not seen this movie yet. I'm planning on seeing it this weekend. I can't wait. I've heard nothing but good stuff. But before we get into it, let's roll that stinger for this segment. This is your box office recap. All right, so we're not going to waste a lot of time. We're going to go ahead and hit this one. Again, the links to all this stuff will be down in the show notes below. I think I'm going to read pretty much everything in this article. It's not super duper long. But again, this is Geeks and Gamers. Love these guys. Go show them some love on their channel. And they've got different contributors on there too, so go follow those guys. I follow several of them independently. And just really good stuff. Really good stuff. But it starts off. Deadpool and Wolverine breaks records and dominates the box office. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this. When I was growing up, getting home from school, I would get my little Dunkaroos, for those of you that remember those. I think I saw that Amazon still sells them, and some other places might too, but Dunkaroos and Sunny Delight. And I would sit down and start my homework after school, and I would turn on the X-Men animated series. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Loved it. I have been waiting so long to see this Wolverine. I've heard I won't be disappointed. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. Says the time has finally arrived for the introduction of Deadpool and Wolverine into the MCU, and it is shaping up to be quite an impressive debut for this rated R flick. Not only did the film open to 2024's best domestic, I got real country with that one, best domestic opening with roughly. Sound like Kamala Harris at a Atlanta rally, huh? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Not only did the film open to 2024's best domestic opening with roughly $205 million, which easily beat Pixar's Inside Out 2, but it also made over $438 million worldwide, which is the best opening for a Disney property since Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which I did not see because I enjoyed the first Doctor Strange. I enjoyed the fact that there were no limitations on what you could do with Doctor Strange. I went back and I watched everything up through Endgame. Because when I saw Endgame, I hadn't seen everything yet. So I went back through and I watched everything. Really enjoyed it all. Everything I heard is that Doctor Strange, Mom, as some people called it, has very little to do with Doctor Strange. It's not a continuation of the Spider-Man movie. It's a continuation of WandaVision. Which I kind of enjoyed WandaVision to a degree. Didn't love where they left it. Didn't love where they went off from it afterwards. And my understanding is that this movie was basically a Wanda movie inside of a Doctor Strange film. Or a Wanda movie inside of a Doctor Strange title. How about that? So did not see it. And I think this article even mentions that there was a historic drop-off for that film, which we probably won't be seeing from Deadpool and Wolverine. But I'll continue because I think we're getting into that. So I may have just jumped the gun. I'm sorry. Let's see. Blah, 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 business, blah, 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 Disney. Mom from back in 2022, which opened to $450 million globally, while Mom saw a historic week 2 drop-off and saw massive decreases every week after. The word of mouth for Deadpool and Wolverine seems to be indicating that will hold well, not only for a $200 million budget Marvel film, but even for an R-rated film, which has a much more limited audience. Based on this opening, I can easily project that this film will be flying towards $1 billion in 3 weeks or less, based on my calculations. Remember that most movies make about 30 to 33% of their entire global box office during their opening weekend on average. That holds for this movie. It will likely make about $1.2 billion if it has an average box office run, and so far there has been nothing average about this release. Though the far more accessible Inside Out 2 will likely have a larger total and take the biggest movie of the year title at the box office, Deadpool and Wolverine will easily be in the top 3 and still has a chance to make quite a bit more. The sky's the limit for this film, and where it ends up will only become clearer next week when we see just how much the numbers drop, and if this movie seems to have any legs. According to Tony over at Deadline, hey, we just read some Deadline stuff. Just like for Inside Out 2, we are seeing massive walk-up numbers from the Hispanic community for this film. It appears they made up about 35% of all tickets sold for the Thursday premiere, which, if we recall, saw an incredibly impressive $38.5 million debut. What is fascinating about the numbers for Deadpool and Wolverine is that though this is an R-rated film and is objectively facing audience limitations because of that, it is still somehow performing similarly to a PG-13 movie and is impressive not only when put up against other R-rated films, but even some major PG-13 releases. Whether you like the movie or not, and the vast majority coming out of the theater are enjoying it quite a bit, no one can deny just how impressive its performance has been. There's no doubt that the aggressive marketing campaign that started months ago, I would say years ago, and the release of an actual entertaining product are the key factors that have led to this film's success. All right, so that's it. I'm not going to go into any more on that one. Everything he said there was correct, especially this closing part here. I mean, make some great marketing stuff. Some great ads, trailers, promotions, stuff like that. Create a great product first and foremost. People will come and see it. I mean, that's kind of the way it's always worked, right? But then you start seeing these great trailers coming out from Marvel, and you go and see the film and you're so disappointed. You're so deflated and defeated. Like, it's hard to buy into whether it's good or not. And these guys have been working overtime to make a great film, so I have no doubt. I mean, the Deadpool films have been great. Man, I mean, you gotta love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And I'll say, as someone who was a fan of the comics, or the animated series originally, and then I do have a couple of comics, you know, Hugh Jackman doesn't exactly fit the bill for Wolverine, for the aesthetics and stuff that you would think, especially back in the early days when he was first casted in it. But damn, he's done such a good job. Right now, it's hard to see anybody else as Wolverine. Speaking of seeing anybody else, one of the things I'm super excited about seeing is my boy right here, Tyler Mane. First of all, when I saw him in the first X-Men, I was like, dude, that's Sabretooth. I'm so excited because those were the coolest battles and interactions in the entire animated series to me. Look, I loved Gambit. I thought, you know, Jubilee, all them folks, I thought everybody was fine. Rogue, you know, Beast, whatever. Great, awesome. But Sabretooth and Wolverine had by far the best chemistry, probably in the comics too, but on screen for sure. in the animated series, and I loved it. I saw Tyler Mane, and I was like, yes. Tyler, who was also in some of Rob Zombie's projects, which, thumbs up on that. And then they replaced him with Lee Schreiber, who is not a bad actor at all. I think he's just fine. I think he's a fine actor. A buddy of mine can't stand him, but we all have actors like that. I won't say mine because you guys will be in the comments just ripping me a new one. But I do like Lee Schreiber. I think he's perfectly fine. But I thought that was a super huge downgrade for Sabretooth. Now, as far as in the acting world goes, he may be significantly better than Tyler Mane. But as far as looking like Sabretooth that I'm familiar with, no. Tyler had it. And I just recently, when I was kind of just getting ready for all this, was looking it up. And they did say why. And apparently it's because, if you don't know, when they did the X-Men origin stuff with Wolverine, they wanted someone who looked more like Wolverine because it's supposed to be his half-brother. Versus, I guess, how Tyler Mane looked nothing like Wolverine. But if you look at the animated series, Tyler Mane, looks significantly more like Sabretooth. So I'm excited about this. Tyler Mane's a great actor. From what I've known him in, I'm excited to see him on the screen again. I'm excited to see him as Sabretooth. I'm excited to see the great Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I'm excited about these two going to task at each other. And again, no hate to Lee Schreiber. No hate there. Just not my Sabretooth. Hashtag not my Sabretooth. Is that a thing? Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you this week. Love you. So glad that you're here. Don't forget, we do have these weekly shows that come out on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Then I'll take those little segments and chop them up and release them throughout the week as morning nuggets. And along with those, sometimes I'll have reactions, reviews, and whatnot that get into the mix. So go check those out. Guys, we're around the corner toward 1,000. We've already been approved for phase 1, so to speak, of monetization on YouTube, which is really cool. I wasn't trying to shoot for that, but we did it. And at 1,000, we've got every other requirement hit. So as soon as we get 1,000 subs on YouTube, we'll be able to be, unless they find something wrong with what I say, we'll be able to be fully monetized on the channel. And that's pretty cool. Again, not necessarily ever really a goal, but it's kind of cool to see that your fruits of labor have or your labor has come to bear fruits. I don't know what I'm trying to say. All I do know is that you guys are awesome, whether you're here from reactions or you're here from the Morning Mayhem. I have enjoyed kind of curating this community with you guys, opening my arms to you, you opening your arms to me, subbing, liking, whatever, and just like us being there for each other. And I am there for you. So I love interacting with you guys in the comments. Don't forget to do that. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And you know what? Like I said, share with a friend. Sharing is caring. See if we can get to that 1,000. I think we can get there pretty quickly. And if not the end of the world. Honestly, don't even care. But that would be pretty cool. That's just my humble yet accurate opinion, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Love you, mean it. Peace.
Thinking about my grandfather and how he had a special rocking chair built that would lean forward rather than backwards so he could fake interest in any conversation.